the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry, or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. And again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
The guy got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get
Welcome to Cooper Talk. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, and remember, I'm only as hip as my guest. I have to tell you, I've been talking about the Words with Friends, and I played this guy from high school, and it's funny because he grew up down the street from me, and we sort of picked on him because he moved from New York to right outside Philadelphia, New Jersey. So he was like that, and I haven't talked to him for years. And he found me on Facebook, and we talk. But it's funny because he plays like 7 games of Words with Friends with me at one time, and whenever I beat him, which I don't want to say like I'm arrogant, but I beat him, but my record's like 26-4 against him. He keeps starting new games, and I would think after a while, if you were losing like 7 games at a time, you would stop playing. I mean, the lovely Joanne, she'll beat me like, we've been having good games lately. She'll beat me once in a while, but I sort of get irritated when she beats me. But I just want to say, it's amazing how, that game's sort of addictive, but then people sit there and they start a game, and then the game takes like a week. And I know you're busy, and a lot of them are on the East Coast, and I'm on the West Coast, but it's sort of annoying because you sit there and you want to finish the game and you can't. So anyway, we have a great guest. I never asked you. My guest is it's Amanda, and the right pronunciation is
Wyss.
Wyss. Okay, I wasn't sure. I was going to ask you, and you came in, and then you got the stuff at the dollar store.
Yes.
Now, have you always been a dollar store fan?
Not particularly, but it seems like they're just popping up everywhere, and they're fun to go walk through.
You find stuff. What I like at like Christmas, and before then, even you find stuff that was like popular at Christmas, but it's still good, like pumpkin creamer, and so there's like a whole big thing for like $1, and you're like, that's like $4 somewhere else.
I know, but what really ends up happening is you spend like $50 on a bunch of garbage, but it seemed like a great idea at the time because you're like, everything's $1.
I know.
I'm going to have this.
But they tax you, and that's what's no good. They don't tell you that, so it's not $1. It's like $1.10.
Yeah.
And the one next door is $1.11, $1.21.
I bought an eyeliner pencil that I modeled for you earlier.
You did, and you put it on.
I did. I put it on in the ladies' room before we went on where no one can see it.
Exactly. See that? But I can see it, and we'll take a picture later. And when people go to my website, they'll go, "Hey, that's the eyeliner she was talking about." So now you're a Southern California kid.
Yes.
And now you grew up in Manhattan Beach, I believe.
Yes.
And now, when did you get this acting bug? Because you've been acting you've had a great career, and you've been acting for a long time, and a lot of kids who grow up screw around first, they don't get into it. When did you start deciding you wanted to act?
When I was very young. I always knew that I had 2 things I wanted to do. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to be an actress. And the acting bug, it just organically was something that I have wanted to do since I was a kid, and I did plays in school, and then I did my first outside of school play when I was 10. I did The Innocents, and then a year later I did The Bad Seed, and I just loved it. And then I started doing commercials, and it sort of organically happened. An agent saw me do the play, and then from there I got commercials, and then I did more plays.
How did you end up deciding to audition for a play? Because as a 10-year-old, as I say, most of us are like, hey, we'll watch some TV, and I can see if you did school productions, which is one thing, but going out, I mean, it's very big. I know you're one of 5 children.
Yes.
Okay, now where were you in that scheme?
Middle.
Okay, so you were like, I'm getting out of here. I'm tired of the old one. I'm tired of the younger one. So now, how did it? I mean, did you hear about an audition for The Innocents? Did you hear? I mean, how did you go from doing school stuff to doing a play?
My older sister was an actress, and she was studying. She graduated from UCLA theater department, and she actually knew of this theater that was doing this play, and she knew that's all I talked about, and I would sit and watch movies and TV shows and think like that I wanted to be in it. And so she actually is the one who connected me with the theater. And then because it was really something I was pursuing myself, and she was going to UCLA, I would ride my bike. I literally, like, I completely did this. Like, I went after it. And the director would drive me home at night. We'd put my little bicycle in the back of his car, because it was a place called the Neil Rec Theater, and it was down in Hermosa Beach, California. And it was actors from all over Los Angeles would come down there and do plays. It was this sweet little theater upstairs overlooking the ocean. It was pretty ideal.
And so you did that, and now you get the part, and then all of a sudden, just did people hear about you? Is that why agents started showing up? Or, I mean, how does it, for a kid, were they coming to see other people, and the other people are like, wait a second, how'd she get signed when I thought they were coming to see me?
Yeah, actually, I got really good reviews, especially in the Bad Seed, and in quite a few papers. And I think back then, the dinosaurs were still roaming the earth. Agents and people were seeking out new talent, so they would, I'm not sure why they came, but it was great.
And you understood the concept when they came, and when an agent came to see you and said, we want to sign you, you understood that was no longer, you would start really going out to audition.
I did understand, primarily because I'd spent that last year doing these 2 plays with adults. And that was all they talked about, was auditioning, or the plays they'd done in New York, and their agent, their manager, their agent, their manager. So I was like, I must get one of these. Right. Apparently, that's incredibly important for this process.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. So you get your agent, and
Yes.
then now what was your? Did you book a commercial quickly, or did you go through a few auditions and not get them? I mean, because I always think for a kid it must be tough, because one, I don't think we may not actually understand that we're getting turned down and it's a professional thing, but 2, it's just like, well, wait a second, I wanted to get that. I mean, how was your early auditioning?
Well, this is very funny. So I would get auditions. Obviously, I wasn't 16 yet, and I would end up often asking like a neighbor to drive me or something if my family wasn't available. So I literally, it just seemed, I don't know, I didn't know that I shouldn't be doing that, asking basically strangers to drive me up to Los Angeles to audition for things. But yeah, I did not book everything right away. And mostly I started booking commercials, and my first couple commercials, I was a teenager, and I stayed doing plays until then. And then I did, my very first commercial was a Pepsi commercial, and it was, I had long blonde hair and was very beachy looking, and it was a big Pepsi campaign with, blonde tan people running around on the beach. I didn't have much to say on that one.
But it was a commercial, so that must have, I mean, what was it like when you saw yourself on TV? I mean, were you like, oh my God, I'm on TV? I mean, that must be so, especially at a young age, and you're sitting there and you're just being yourself pretty much, because you're blonde, you love the beach, I'm sure. What is it like, and what did like your family and your friends say? Because you must have been like sort of like become like, wait a second, she's on TV.
Well, okay, this is also a funny part. We went through a period in my family where there was no television, and after dinner we would play board games and read and do things like that. So during that time, I actually never saw the commercial.
Okay.
But I remember my school, in the school newspaper, wrote a thing about it and had a snap of the commercial, and I was like, whoa, that is so cool. And then somewhere down the road, I ended up getting a copy of the commercial. So that was actually the first time I saw it. So I didn't actually see it on TV.
Isn't that, well, that's probably good, because, if you see it at a young age, you get a little cocky and shit, like, hey, I'm on TV, but you didn't see it, so you had no idea.
No.
So now you get this commercial, and now where in your mind do you where do you want to take this? Do you say, I want to follow this more? Do I want to go back to stage? Because you were doing good on stage, and commercial and stage, as you know, it's 2 different worlds, because stage, you have to really work hard and go through audition and really takes the acting chops. Commercials, it can just be a line sometimes. It can be running around. I mean, where were you sitting there and you're young still? I mean, were you thinking about am I going to act? Am I going to go to college? I mean, where was your mind at?
I was thinking I was going to college, and I was thinking that I wanted to pursue this, and I mostly wanted to. I thought excuse me. I mostly thought I would go to college and then go to New York, pursue theater, and that is not what happened. I ended up starting junior college, and then I booked a TV series, which failed right away. But I'd already decided I don't need college,
Right.
which is clearly no one was driving that ship at that decision. And so I knew I wanted to pursue it, and I kept following that. But I thought that it was going to be more get my degree, go to New York, pursue theater, and then I don't know. I wanted to, and I was also really young, so there was things like I want to be in the remake of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Right.
I wasn't having really lofty pursuits. I wanted to be in The Parent Trap. I wanted to, so I was, I don't know. When I was young, I wanted to be on the Disney, a Mouseketeer.
Yeah, of course you want to do that stuff. Because you're young, you're like, oh, I see it on TV. I had a girl on last week, and she said she turned down an audition for Zoom. I go, how Zoom? That was a big show back east. I'm like, how can you turn down Zoom? She goes, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's Zoom. So now, what was it? Do you remember the TV show?
Yes, it was really fun. It was called When the Whistle Blows, and it was about iron workers, I believe. I think they had like iron hangers or something, and Dolph Sweet played the father, and I was his daughter, and it was a lot of like roller skating and can I have a sandwich? And then Universal canceled it pretty quickly.
What's that like as a young kid? Because when you sit there, I mean, you first of all, you've gotten success because you're on a TV show. I mean, that's one time that's beating the odds of tons. But as young, where you just had probably the younger resilience that you were just like, oh well, it didn't work. I'll just move on.
Yeah, you know what I think? I hadn't been kicked around. I didn't really understand the nature of the beast, so I was sort of blissfully unaware. And I was still just trying to learn and understand how the camera worked and where my place was and how to, fit in with all these grown-ups. So I was disappointed. I was disappointed because I think, I was a little kid, so I was like, this is it. This is my thing. Now I'm going to be a Mouseketeer, and then I get to be in The Parent Trap, and, even though they'd already all been made. So I was bouncing all over the place.
But you started getting work after that, then. So you start going back and getting work. Now, was the work easy? I mean, because I look at your resume and you booked a lot of stuff in 82 and 83. I mean, were you sitting there, were you feeling confident because were you auditioning a lot, or were you just getting some auditions, just booking it so you didn't have to audition a lot?
Well, it was interesting because I ended up, especially like with commercials, I don't do, I mean, I haven't auditioned for commercials in years, but I know now there's like a lot longer process. Back when I was doing, especially the commercials, when I'll say, kid to, 21 or whatever, I was just on a list basically. And it was so simple. Sometimes I'd just come in to meet the ad people, or it wasn't this long process of like 3 and 4 auditions for the same thing. And so it was a lot more fun, and it was a smaller world back then. And then, I was confident, but I have to say, by the time I got to be around 20, I was auditioning things and I wasn't getting them, and my feelings were being hurt. And, and so it was about 19 or so, I went to the Strasberg Institute. I was like, oh, you know what? I really need to, study and get some tools in my toolkit, because I didn't go to college. So this will be my college. And, just read every play anybody's ever told me to read, and read every book on acting, and study. And then there were some funny things in that school, because we had to take a singing class, and I can't sing. And I just remember, I mean, I was so young, but every week I had to sing the same song forever. And every time I get up, everybody in the class would groan, like, God, just pass her from this song so we can all live past this. So but it was fun, and, learning defense a little bit and all that kind of stuff. It was a really good experience. I'm glad I did that.
It's cool. You got some of the training that, you wanted to go to New York, but you're working here. So it's like, well,
yeah.
It's sort of taking a step back. So now then you end up in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
Now, when you did that movie, because I had Robert Romanus on, he said he went for Damone audition after audition after audition. He said it was like a huge process. You had mostly done TV before, right?
Yeah.
So were you sitting there thinking that, okay, you said the commercials, they just call you on the TV. Was it a long process for you to get the part?
No, but I didn't have as big a role as Robert Romanus.
Right, but you still had a big role.
Yeah. I love Robert. Actually, everybody from that movie, it was such a nice group of people. No, you know what? I went in to read, and it was Carrie, I forget the casting director's name now, lovely person, and Judge Reinhold and Amy Heckerling were there. And they basically just had me do an improv with Judge. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get this movie. I'm stumbling all over the place. I don't even know. Judge and I are sitting on the desk, and they had to improv the breakup scene. And so I left there thinking, I don't even know what just happened. And then, so I'm so happy I got that movie. And I had a great time doing that movie.
Now, did you ever think, and I always think, because it is an iconic movie, and I mean, and for, especially I say for my age group, if you haven't seen it, if someone is over 45 and they never saw Fast Times, I want to hit them. Because it's like, it's a part of the thing. But did you ever think that it would just, it was just on the other night. It was on AMC. Did you think it would just, you were in this movie, and did you think it would just, basically, it's live forever, and it's still, people love it. I mean, when you're a young actor, you must, I mean, most people don't think that they'll be in something that's iconic. They sit there, unless it's, the Must Be Your Musketeer or in The Parent Trap.
Yes.
Then, but did you ever think when you guys were shooting it, and you're just young, and you're having fun, did you ever think it would just carry on just so long, and just people would still just, they love that movie?
Well, a couple things. One, I don't think, and I still don't think, I ever had or have had a very good business sense about the show business part. So I've never been calculated enough to kind of look at something and put it together as stepping stones for something else, much to my detriment, as far as my business part of my acting goes. And secondly, I was so young, I just don't know, or I didn't have a sense of the future and what this could mean. Now, that said, they were calling it the, new American Graffiti, and I'd seen that and knew that was considered a classic and stuff. So I was being told that, but I don't actually know if I understood if that was going to happen, or what it actually meant further down the road. Because when you're that young, 10 years ahead of you seems like forever and ancient, and how could anything last that long? And we have these old people, they're 25, Isn't
that crazy? Like, you sit there and think, I was just sitting there with one of my guests earlier. We were talking about the old days of stand-up, which was, we're like, oh, these kids today, and we're like, oh my God, it's because we don't think, when you're young, you don't think, you think someone, when you're 21, someone 29 is old.
Oh, I know.
And you sit there and go, and now you look at it and go, wait a second, that's like, it's just crazy.
I know. In fact, my Stephen and I were out for dinner the other night, and a boy came up to the table with my glass of wine, and I was like, he can't be old enough to serve alcohol. And then I realized he was probably like 24, and I'm like, oh, because now I'm the flip side of that now. Right. They're looking at like, why is that old lady staring at me like that? No. So it's just very funny. Like but I literally said that to Stephen. I was like, how is that child delivering alcohol? And he goes, he's probably like 24. I'm like, what? Okay.
So the movie, you're in the movie, and now how does it change your career though? Then, because it's a movie, and I mean, when I look back, because I probably saw it when it came out, but was it a big hit, or what was? I mean, when it first came out, or did you get some heat from the industry because of it?
I did get some heat, but mostly it kept translating back to television. Which was fine, and especially now older, I've always felt like TV kind had fun things for women to do, and at any age, and some really terrible things too. But so do you want to know God's honest truth? I can't remember if that was a big hit or not when it first came out, or if it grew slowly. I think it probably was a pretty big hit. I know that's terrible, Ed. I don't know.
No, because we always think, once again, it's a sign of when we get older. We don't remember box office, because when we were watching, when I was watching TV, if it came on when HBO was very young, or if it came on that, you're like, oh wow, but like it's not now where it's like you can just go on IMDb and you can see what this show's on, this show's on, this show's on, and you go, wait a second, and it's like, wait, and then you see in the commercials, you're like, this is supposed to have a commercial, and they cut stuff out.
I know.
It's crazy. So no, they do that, but then you got Nightmare on Elm Street.
I did. That was a really strange, interesting period. I did Fast Times, and then I did a couple like TV movies and things, like a really fun one with Lonnie Anderson, and it was really, really fun, and at the time it was the highest rated TV movie, I think, starring a woman or of all time or something. I could be exaggerating that. I might be remembering that completely incorrectly. But then came like in a span, I did them all completely in a row. It was Nightmare on Elm Street, Better Off Dead, and Silverado. And it was like amazing and fun, and each of them were such completely unique experiences, and right on the literally on the wrap, and it was an incredible time.
How do you prepare yourself for that? Because they're all completely different genres. Because Silverado was a Western, and Better Off Dead was another cult classic, which everyone remembers. I Want My $2, and Nightmare on Elm Street was one of the beginning of the new type of slasher flick, and it was like they weren't really known then. I mean, did you ever sit there and think, God, I've been part of these genres and classics? I mean, and as I said, as a young actor, how do you prepare to go from getting killed to doing comedy to drama? I mean, how would you prepare as an actor? And did you think when you went to school to Strasberg, did that help you get prepared for that stuff?
Yes, I love all the tools I have from Strasberg. I also studied later with Larry Moss, and then most currently, I adore this man, Stuart Rogers, who's just a genius teacher. And I think I love studying and having that place to do roles that maybe I haven't had the opportunity to do. That said, the preparation for each of them. And it's the same now. It's just to always find the truth in whatever you're doing, and then and let the story unfold, and know your place in the story so that you help tell the overall story. And I think I'd never seen a horror film. I think I'd seen a black and white version of Dracula or something like that. And then up till that point, the scariest movie I'd ever seen was my older sister took me to see Wait Until Dark with Audrey Hepburn. And to this day, I still can't walk upstairs that you can reach through without thinking of that.
Isn't it weird how you remember that stuff? Like I was talking to someone about The Exorcist, and I'm going to tell you that movie's old, but if I watch that, it still freaks me out.
Yeah.
I sit there and go, and I know that the special effects aren't what they are now, but if I watch it, I'm like, I'm starting to get a creepy feeling when I'm going upstairs to go to bed. I'm like, well, wait a second,
Yeah, The Exorcist was the first scary book I'd ever read. Like I'd read scary books because I'd started really young as a kid reading like the Alfred Hitchcock's children's series and then things like that. And then, but The Exorcist, I thought it was so scary. And I remember thinking I could put this down and end this, but I'm not going to. Right. I'm going to continue. So with Nightmare, I'd never seen a horror film. And so when I went to read for it, and I met Wes Craven, who, is the most lovely, creative, intelligent person. We talked and I was like, I've never seen a horror film, but I've read scary books. And he's like, okay, well, it's the same thing. You're bringing that to life. So the script for Nightmare on Elm Street was so scary. And I think that made me excited because I'd been reading these scary books like The Others and all these things. So, and then I learned a lot from Wes because there's a lot of things in horror that you don't think to do, but like if something's coming from above, make sure you're looking down first so that there's that tension, or like there's little kind of technical things that can help tell a horror story, which I learned working with Wes, and ironically, or not ironically, I think I'm misusing that word. We're all still friends now from that movie, and I think that's like really impressive.
Now, did you get scared by the guy in the mask? I mean, when I know you know it's a movie.
Yeah.
But you also said, you could have put The Exorcist down and you're getting scared.
Yeah.
And I believe me, Hollywood's the land of make believe. But if someone's coming after you with stuff and this and that, I mean, it's got to creep you out a little bit.
Well, you know what? Actually, the locations we filmed in were actually creepy. Like the house where my character Tina Gray's house was in Venice Beach, and we filmed in this alley. And back in that day, Venice hadn't been gentrified, and I mean, I was running barefoot, and they had to go through and sweep the alley from needles and all these things, and I was like, I'm actually going to die filming this movie. And then the boiler room stuff was shot at the Lincoln Heights jail, which was, I don't know if it's still there, but it was I don't think it might even still been partially open when we filmed there, but very, very bad, scary energy. And we were down in the basement filming. Like, it was a kind of place you'd walk down the stairs and the hair on the back of your neck would stand up, and people pretty much stayed to a buddy system walking around. So it was pretty scary. And Robert, he's a classically trained, wonderful actor. He kept every scene very fresh. And so there was, and often in the movie, he's just coming up behind me. So
right.
there was a lot of Wes saying, stop raising your shoulders. We know that, you don't know he's there yet, and stuff like that. So I think there was a lot of creepy things happening, but I don't know that I was ever totally afraid of Robert, except for a couple of times we'd all sit down to lunch and you'd just be eating and talking and look up and realize that there was Robert with his makeup on, and you were like, ugh.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, and I guess you're right, because you think you're going to react, and you can't, but you're probably thinking, okay, I know he's behind me, I have to act, and it's different than regularly just going off. So then Better Off Dead. Now, did you know how to ski before that movie?
Yes, I grew up skiing.
Okay, so you were a good skier. So were you excited when you found out you could do a movie that revolved around skiing?
Yes, and when we get there, though, we find out none of us can ski because we're not insured for skiing, and the only two people that can ski are John and Aaron Dozier, because they ski in the movie. So it was very funny. So I had fabulous ski outfits, and we got to run around in the snow, but we weren't allowed to ski the entire time we were there.
That's funny. My old neighbor, I live in Burbank, I remember this was years ago. He's found the house that Cusack lived in, and it's in Glendale. And he's like, I found the house. And it was so funny how people look around. Now, once again, did you think that would become such a cult classic? Because that's like a cool, like, you have to be hip to know that as a cult classic. Like, any normal run-of-the-mill person doesn't know how cool that movie is. Did you think that? I mean, did you think, once again, you're in two movies that are, cult classics. Now you're in the third movie. Did you ever sit there and go, like, when did you sit there and find out that started becoming so popular? Well,
the interesting thing, Nightmare on Elm Street, it grew. It really had its big explosion once it went to video. I mean, it got really interesting press because Wes had sort of introduced a new psychological style of slasher, and it was very visceral. The way he used the children in the movie and stuff. So he enlivened this genre for that time. And but when I started filming Better Off Dead, the big explosion from Nightmare hadn't quite happened yet. It was happening though, like where more and more, like I opened my door at Halloween and people are dressed as Freddy. Somebody came dressed as Tina in a body bag. I was like, oh my gosh, all right, people are actually seeing this film. So it was exciting. But that was a process of a couple years, really. I mean, it was out there, but I think it's bigger now than it ever was. And I find that amazing, and I just find it amazing. So Better Off Dead, loved the script, and the actual script of Better Off Dead is one of the funniest things I've ever read in my life. And I had the opportunity last year at this San Francisco Sketch Fest. They invited us up there, and a lot of the original cast did a live reading of the original Better Off Dead script. And then a bunch of comedians as well filled in the other spots. John Heater read the John Cusack part, and he's a huge fan of the movie and literally knew the lines. He didn't even need the script, which was adorable. And I forgot how funny the script is. Like when hearing it read live, you're just howling in the audience. The theater was packed and they were yelling the lines back and stuff. So I think I had my fingers crossed that it would be people would love it and go see it, but I didn't know. I was hoping it would, because there was starting to be that proliferation of like the John Hughes movies and stuff, and I was hoping that it would, get an audience like that. And I did not expect it to become a huge cult classic, though.
That must be cool, though, when you sit there. It's like, well, first of all, when these movies are coming out, when Fast Times and, Freddy, when they're starting to get popular in the second wave, are you starting to get recognized now? Because, and I always think for a young, attractive woman, it must be a little bit hard to get recognized because there's a lot of creeps out there. But, well, there's a lot of great people, don't get me wrong. But it's like the internet now, Twitter. People just sit there and put stuff, and you sit there and go, what the hell? But I mean, you know some of the stuff people write. But what was it like for you to start getting recognized? I mean, because I think for anybody, that must just be a weird feeling.
It is. It's strange. And I mean, I'm grateful for it. But yeah, it is strange. And and I have to tell you, 90% of the time I'm completely oblivious to it. And somebody will be with me and say, they know who you are. And I'm like, what? So I'm not out looking for it. And it's not like I'm, Tom Cruise where people are like mobbing they're not like mobbing me when I walk out the door. So I always find it flattering. And, especially when the people are fans of the old things that they're putting my modern visage with that visage. And I'm like, oh, all right. It's very, I take it as a compliment. And for the most part, I would have to say, 99% of the time, people are very respectful and thoughtful with their approach. And I, I'm honored that they like anything I've ever done.
What was it like shooting a Western? I mean, because once again, I know you skied, but you weren't allowed to ski.
Yeah.
Were you a horseback kid? Were you a Western fan? I mean, because some people would think, I don't want to play a Western. Some people might be like, oh my God, it's a Western. What was your attitude when you got to read or got offered a job on a Western?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I grew up going to dude ranches as a child. Love country music, love horses, love Westerns. My dad was a big Western fan. So when I read the script, I was just like, oh my gosh. And so, true, funny story. The character I played, Phoebe, was described as like, I forget, like model-like beauty or something like that. So I go to do a pre-read with the casting director. And, mind you, I'm incredibly young and stupid. So I go in, I sit down and I say, listen, you and I both know I'm not a model. I don't look like a model. So we should probably not waste each other's time. And I think I'm going to go. And I thought I was being very mature and helping her out. That's how oh my God, I cringe. And she just stopped and looked at me like, who is this person who has the audacity to speak to me like this? Because she was probably the biggest casting director in the town at the time. And she goes, listen, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get up and you're going to go outside my office and close the door and get your shit together. And then you're going to knock on my door and I'm going to say enter and you're going to come back in and you're going to read the scene. And I was like, okay. So I go outside and close the door and I'm like, I just want to die. Clone me. So I knock on the door and she doesn't answer right away. She makes me knock twice. So I knock again. She goes, enter. And so I read for it. And she's like, okay. And she didn't say anything else. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to work again in this town. What's wrong with me? I have a screw loose. And so I get a call that they want me to come meet Lawrence Kasdan. So I come in and they're all there, all the producers, and they're all laughing when I come in because she has just told them the story. And so, of course, I was like, I'm never going to get this part. Now I'm just a curiosity of who's the person. So I read, and then literally the next day I got the part. And so even as the car has come to pick me up to take me to the airport to fly to New Mexico to do the movie, I keep thinking they have attached my resume to somebody else's headshot and they still have it confused. I'm going to get there and they're going to be like, oh no, that's the girl who like insulted everyone. So it was very funny, and everyone had many laughs for many years over that. And I got there and it was beautiful. We shot in the winter. It was snowy, cold, gorgeous. One of the most amazing casts I think that have ever been assembled for any film. And every Saturday night after filming, we filmed 6 days a week. There was a dance party, and it was a Motown dance party because they had all just finished The Big Chill, and it rotated around. Everybody went. Everybody danced all night. Brian Dennehy said to me, really take this in and enjoy it, because you will never have an experience on a movie like this again. He's like, this is magic, and magic doesn't always happen. And it's true. I've never had quite that. I always have a good time, but
Right.
this was a magical experience of a great script, great cinematographer, wonderful director. Larry Kasdan is like the coolest human on the planet, and just it was hands down the best time I've ever had on location doing a movie, surrounded by things I loved.
Now, as you're doing these movies, and you're doing very well, was the theater ever back in your mind? Like, did you sit there and go, you know what, I wanted to go to New York to do theater? I mean, or were you sitting there going, I'm getting all these great productions? I mean, what was, because you went back and you got your classes, and you are acting in movies. I always think sometimes people sit there and they go, I like to get on stage. I mean, what was going through your mind? Did you want to get on stage, or were you just like, I'm just going to ride this wave and go to do TV, or, what did you go through?
You know what? I think I got afraid of going back on stage. I really fell in love with the camera and understanding film acting, and it's a huge. I love it, and I love the technical aspects of it as well. I wish I had gone back and done more theater when I was younger. I think it would have been really good for me personally and professionally, and I let fear drive that ship, I believe. I mean, that's my looking back on hindsight. I think it's important to do theater. I think it's important to stay reminded of why we fell in. I mean, if you start out in theater, I think there's a million actors that don't. It's just an important reminder of what you fell in love with in the first place, and as a rule, they're pretty amazing roles that you aren't going to get in an episode of, Walker, Texas Ranger.
Right.
But not to put that show down, I did it. So yeah, I in hindsight, it's a big regret of mine that I didn't maintain those chops.
Now, as you start doing more TV at a younger age, you were on Cheers, you were on Cagney Lacey, St. Elsewhere. At the time, were you also getting pilot offers? Or, I mean, because I know everyone says, you get the pilot offer, and like you said, the first show you didn't even get picked up.
Yeah.
So it must be like, and I know so many people who are like, hey, I've done 7 pilots, and they've made a great living. But they're always like, it gets frustrating sometimes when you're on a really good pilot and it doesn't get picked up. What was your career going like then? Because it's like you're appearing on these great shows, iconic shows. And that's one thing, you have a very iconic resume. What was it like? Were you getting pilots too? And were you just, where was your mindset at? Because you're getting older now. You're also, you've had success at a very young age. And once again, we're when you're 20, as we said, when we're 23, 24, you get distracted. You sometimes sit there and go, do I really want to do this? I mean, where was your head at?
I was doing pilots. I was like the queen of the unsold pilot for the 80s. And I really wanted to be on a TV series, and it didn't happen. And also the 80s and into the 90s, there was, I was just looking for a place to plug in. I think I was doing a lot of really interesting things, but I never plugged into that one thing that was like the TV series that went for 3 years, or the play in New York that sort of reminds people that I had some gravitas, that I wasn't just this blonde, little sitcom actress or whatever. And the funny thing was, when I was younger, I did a lot of sitcoms, and they were like, and people were like, well, she can't do drama. which was all my training was drama. And then I started doing drama, and they're like, she's not funny, which is not true. I can be very funny.
Isn't that crazy? Though? It's like you sit there. It's like I mean, for me, and this is what I've gotten a lot. I think casting people sometimes just don't look at resumes. I mean, if you look at a resume, okay, she was in Nightmare on Elm Street. She did this, and she was in this, and she was this. It's like it's quite obvious if you look at your resume. Okay, she can do both. I mean, it's not like I think sometimes people pigeonhole people in this business, and you always sit there and go, what are you crazy? I mean, I know because they want what people expect, but it's like your career, it was going back and forth, drama and comedy, and it must be frustrating because you probably sit there and go, I can do both.
Right. You know what I think, especially in the 80s into the 90s, and it's not true in my world today, but I just don't think I had a lot of confidence. I think I had a lot of talent, and I was getting lucky, or I was blessed enough that I was, I mean, I worked very hard, but I was getting these great roles. But I think it was my lack of confidence that sort of helped form a lack of direction where I didn't get plugged into something. So I take responsibility for that, because I think I would have made a few smarter choices if I had. I didn't really have a mentor. I was a little adrift when I was younger in the sense that I just didn't have a plan, and I didn't see a clear direction. And I think it's important to have a direction. I mean, you veer from it all you want, but it's important to have some sort of vision of, what your desire is or what you want to do. So I think I chalk a lot of those missteps up to a lack of confidence. And, I just think I hadn't blossomed yet. And I think that, I was a late bloomer as far as feeling more grounded and clear about what my gifts were and what I wanted to do with them, and that.
Well, yeah, I think it's funny. It's a funny point you say that about the mentor, because I'm someone who I've always believed in mentor. When I did stand-up comedy in Philly, a lot of older guys mentor me, and for you had, you were acting so much as a kid. I think sometimes it would be hard for a mentor to approach you. Because once again, I always say we're kids. We think we know everything, and that is true.
It is true.
And it's not that we do, and it's not that we are, but it's like anything. We're in this business because we all have a little bit of an insecurity. And so when you sit there and you have success, if someone who sits there and starts telling you, well, you should do this, and you're like, well, wait a second, I was just in this movie. And I think that happens a lot. I think also, and I think more in Hollywood than other places. I think a mentor would be intimidated by you, even though you said you weren't sure which direction to go because you were working a lot. And then they sit there and go, what am I going to tell them? That's what always amazes me. Like when I talk to actors who have these great acting coaches, and teachers, and they get along with them because a lot of these acting coaches and teachers, that's what they do. They don't really want to act. They want to teach. And I think that's when you can really get to a mentor because you're looking up to that person. Whereas instead of saying, well, you should do this, you should do that, they're saying, here's what you should do.
Yeah. I think that you're right. And I think that, obviously I think, there's that hubris when you're young of like, now I'm working and stuff. But I always knew I never felt super comfortable. I wasn't a cocky kid. I was a little awkward. And I had a casting director actually tell me this year, like when I got into my later 30s, and I was like, oh, well, this explains it. And I won't say her name. She was a lovely person. It was actually very helpful. In hindsight, it was very hurtful at the time when she said it, but she was like, you know what, the problem with your career is, she goes, you come into a room you're like a cipher, and you only come alive when you're acting. And so it makes people uncomfortable. Like I realized that I think I was just shy and awkward, and that I felt most comfortable once the character was created. And she said, you just, the people that come in and you go, I want to hang out with this person on the set, or, they have a really clear direction of their worth or whatever. She just said, it made people uncomfortable. And I was like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me this when I was a teenager? Right. I could have worked on it. That's when I needed to hear this. So I found out things later. They're also the reason I think that I can dive so deeply into a character. And so I just think I was, that would have been good information for a mentor to impart. But they didn't know I was doing that in the audition room, apparently, except for a mentor wouldn't have known that, I guess. But so it was kind of funny. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's like, I hope you don't mind me telling you this. And I'm like, well, I think I might need a medic, but you know what? This wound will heal, and it was good information. So there's things, I was a goofy kid. I was a goofy young person.
So now as you're getting mature, into business, what kind of roles are you starting to look at? What did you want to play? Like, when you're going through that transition, because as you said, you could do both comedy and drama. And I know actors always say, well, whatever, if it's a gig, it's a gig.
Right.
But were you just sitting there sometimes just going, and then, you wanted a TV show, but, as you're getting older in the business and you're probably really getting your chops. I mean, that sounds weird, but you're maturing, and it's like anything, if we knew then what we knew now,
yeah.
Where were you focusing your attention at that point? Were you sitting there going, okay, I want to do this? Did you want to do stage again, or what?
Right.
What did you do?
So like we're talking well, I guess I was really, really interested in and wanted to be a bigger part of this than I ended up being. But the small indie movies that I really admired, like in the 90s, and I loved the roles they were writing for women. They were complex, awkward, intelligent, funny, but in a painful way. I loved those complex roles that were really a slice of life. And so that's where I was putting my focus. And I did end up going back on stage with a group called Stevedore Productions, and they were putting on one acts, and brilliant writers that are really good playwrights and TV writers and film writers now. And they were one acts, and that was really fun. I did that a couple of their productions in the 90s at the Theater Row in Hollywood, and that was really fun. And then just making that transition into a woman from an ingenue, and just keeping my focus on those roles that I wanted to do.
Now, have you noticed, as you were making this transition until now, have you noticed, do you honestly think that the roles for females are growing? Because, it's a matter of, once again, you said it perfectly to me how Hollywood thinks. You were taking great roles, but they were indie movies, or they're these playthings.
Right.
Do you think that the industry is finally growing to sit there and give good roles to women? I mean, because, it's like you sit there sometimes, and I watch TV, and there's some roles that just, and it's weird. I mean, from you coming from the industry part, I mean, do you think that the networks and the productions are finally saying, you know what, it's not a guy's world? Because, there's so many people who I see stuff on Facebook about, the guy actor, he's 62, but the girl is like 32.
I know, and hot, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and to me, I don't like to see that. I mean, I'm blessed. I have a beautiful girlfriend. But honestly, a lot of guys that look like me don't.
Oh, you're handsome. Be quiet.
I'm bald. I'm just saying.
Quiet.
But no, as someone who watches it, I sit there and go, this is bullshit. For you, do you ever get frustrated and go, man, this is crap, man. These guys are too old.
Well, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna say I'll go to the guy girl thing. I think all actors get frustrated. I mean, I think you can be anybody in this business and be frustrated that you're not getting the roles you want, or you have a long period of not getting any roles, or it's such an up and down mercurial business. I think that as far as like all the great roles for women, I think there are great roles for women. However, that said, they go on TV, there's millions of wonderful roles for women, and not even great roles, but lots of roles for women. But they tend to all go to the same women. Like there's women doing 4 TV series at the same time. So there are a lot of roles, but they're not being farmed out to anybody. But I think the networks and things, I just think people get insecure and they only want the person that somebody else has already hired because they saw value in that person, therefore that person has more value because they're already on that show. And so I understand the politics of it and the financial dynamics of it. So yes, I think that there are many wonderful roles for women, especially in television, and the proliferation of all the great cable series and networks. However, I'm just going to say that again, that it's the same women doing all the parts. And as far as the men and women, you know what? I just think that's a human thing. I think that older guy, younger girl has been going on since the dawn of time, and it's just something that you just go, it pleases someone because that's why they do
Right.
it, and I it's not something new, and I just think it's a caveman cell memory or something.
Now you got to tell me about your episode of Cold Case. Your own Cold Case.
Yes, loved it.
Did
That
you?
was
'Cause
so much fun.
I love that show because
I
I grew up
did
near
too.
Philadelphia, and I had one of my guests was on who said he played the younger, and at the end, this actor he loved played the older him, and I always thought it was always cool because at the end,
Yes.
it ended credits. What was like playing? I mean, what was your? Do you remember what your story was?
Oh my gosh, it was so wonderful. I played a woman who was, spoiler alert, burned in a fire, and it was just such a beautiful story. And they had these prosthetics, so half of my body was burned, and there was just this. It was just a wonderful story. And then at the end, I danced to Dancing Queen, because I'd been a disco dancer in the 70s before this fire, and I still to this day, if I see that episode, it makes me cry. I thought it was a beautiful. It was a really beautiful story, and that's sometimes like with these episodes of TV, you get these gems of a role that are so layered and wonderful, and and that was a procedural, but they didn't belabor the procedural part, like for the guest star anyway. The guest star got to have a lot of fun.
That's cool. I'm trying to think now because the dancing. There's one where they roller skate and there's one where they're disco, and I've seen them all, and I'm trying to think which one.
Oh.
There was no. I'm trying to remember because I remember the Dancing Queen because
Yeah.
I love music and TV. That's one thing I loved about that show. They always put good songs in.
Yes.
And very like you sit there. They had one whole episode with Springsteen. I'm a huge Springsteen
Yeah.
fan. I'm like, wait, Springsteen TV song. I'm like, and it went place in
I know.
Atlantic City, and one of the episodes took place at a country club in a town I grew up in. So I always had a certain bond to that show.
Yeah.
But I now have to go look. That's
Yeah,
funny.
it was fun.
I'm gonna sit
It
there.
was super fun.
So now I look at your IMDb, and you have a lot of pre-production stuff and post-production stuff. So you're getting out there and working a lot.
Yes, I have. Oh my gosh, I have coming up, and they're not even on there. A movie that I can't say the title of yet because they've told me I can't say, but it's super scary. And I'm playing Beth because, of course, my roles always have to be Tina or Beth. It's just I did the recurring role on CSI as the serial killer, and I show up, and she's now Tina, which was great fun to work with Bill Irwin and do all that. But yes, I have. So the scary movie that I'll be able to say soon, but I start shooting that in 2 weeks actually, and then I am doing William Frost, which is I play basically like a Nurse Ratched kind of fun character in a very creepy movie. And then in the fall, I'm doing a movie in Nashville called Catch a Fallen Star about country singers, and I'm super excited
That
about
must
that.
be exciting because you said your father's a big country fan, and,
Yep.
and you like country music.
I love country music.
You know what's funny? I was just hanging out. He actually stayed at our place on Saturday because we went to a dinner party. I don't follow country music. There's the drummer for Jason Aldean has become a good friend of mine. I never heard of Jason Aldean, and
Yes.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I met him at my friend's party because I said to my friend Lucky, I go, hey man, I go, who'd be a good guest for my show? And he goes, that guy. He goes,
Yeah.
he's Jason Aldean, and I had no idea who he was. And my old roommate, his wife, my friend JP is like, oh my God, Kristen would go crazy. But it's just funny because now I'm getting a whole encompass of all how like
Yeah.
the country guy, he lives in Nashville, and it's amazing, especially if you love live music and stuff like that.
Oh.
Going to Nashville now, all the kids who are getting out of music school are going there because you can go there and you can start writing, and everyone like Steven Tyler's going down there.
Yep.
And it's amazing. Are you must be excited to go to Nashville.
I'm beyond excited. I'm super excited. And then I have a movie that I completed that literally is my role of a lifetime. It's called The Id, and I play it's kind of like Whatever Happened to Baby Jane kind of role. And it is about to be distributed. So I'm super excited about that because it's definitely hands down best role I've ever had, best most wonderful experience creatively as an actor to delve into this beautiful, yummy character. And it won Best Thriller at just last month at the Hollywood Reel Independent Film Festival. And so I'm hoping a lot of people get to see it because I don't know, I'm super happy and excited about it.
Looking back at your body of work and you say it's your best role for you, what can you say, like the tangibles that made it your best role?
It's the most beautiful, heartbreaking tale of this woman, Meredith. And to get to play this woman from beginning to end as things happened with her mentally, and it was very challenging to stay in the arc of the character. It was very, and I went so deep into it. It took many, many months to actually shake her her pain and sadness and her journey. I don't want to just say pain and sadness. So, very complex, interesting character, and I'd just never been given that big of a challenge where like I'm in every frame of the movie, and it was really a treat and a present.
Any theater in your mind, or you're not, because you're working so much now though. I mean, it must be hard that But I think I
have a dream. I have a dream that I will get back on stage, and it's going to be a role that I love, and I might fall on my face, but it is my dream. It is in there. It hasn't happened yet.
But it will, because I feel it. Because as I said, I look at your body of work. I even like the TV shows you've been on. You know what I mean? Even like you're on. I mean, you've been on iconic movies, which and what I love now is because of Netflix and because of cable, these movies live on to generations. I mean, when I sit there, when I'm interviewing you now, I think when I was in college, I would have seen Better Off Dead. And that's why, I always crack up. Like when I have an Alan Ruck on from, or whatever, I sit there and go,
oh, I love him.
I go, wow. I sit there and go, when I was in New Jersey, I never thought I'd be interviewing people like this. And then that's what's great, because you guys are around forever, and you keep working, and that's the best for you. I mean, you're getting the role of your lifetime that you feel.
I know, as a grown-up.
Yeah. It's like crazy.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting, and I'm hoping that this is a new little chapter for me as I age into character acting. That's my plan. I think that's where my chops are as well, and I'm happy to just age into. I would love to be like Jessica Lange on American Horror Story, or Lynn Shay in all those yummy fun movies she plays, and just go, for those great yummy character roles, and I don't have to worry about my hair.
Would you ever want to play the First Lady?
I am playing the First Lady on a web series called, totally forgot about that, The Division. We've just murder and mayhem has ensued, and my husband and I have become president and first lady, and that will carry on. And oh my God, and I have another web series called Devil's Gate, where I play a crime scene photographer, and it's literally going to be one of the scariest web series you will have ever seen when it gets up and going.
And now The Division, is that up yet or no?
It is, but there's only 4 episodes up so far, and
can we find it?
Yeah, I think it's the divisionmovie.com. I'm sorry that I don't know off the top of my head. I'll tweet it to you. Yeah, and it's wonderfully acted. Eric Wan is the creator and director of it, and there's many more episodes that need to be shot and will be shot eventually, and it's very good.
But you're so busy that they're not going to have time. You're working all the time.
I will totally have time to play the First Lady and Devil's Gate. Both of these web series. Devil's Gate should be on Netflix. It's amazing, and so should The Division, and I'm super excited. I'm just glad that I have all these fun things that people have brought to me that I'm like, yes, of course I want to do that.
How does one get in character for the first woman? Because you're the first woman.
It's in the hairdo. No, I'm just kidding. And it's a sense of, I found what I was doing by how she sat, how I would sit, and that sort of dictated then how I would stand and what I was going to do with my hands when I spoke, and it just helped me pull in a sort of leader. And I'm not necessarily a nice first lady. I'm introduced while I slap my assistant's face, so I'm not so it was a little bit steeliness and body protective posture, and enough that kept people away and slightly nervous, and so that's how I found her. Yes, she wasn't an elegant, loving first lady.
Now, do you ever find young new actors on set and mentor them, or try to mentor them?
If people are open to talking with me about it, but I think what's happened, and I'll say this quickly, sets used to be where actors sat around and talked, and older actors shared their stories of theater and movies with younger actors. Now everyone's on their cell phone. Everyone's locked in their dressing room. There's very little communication. People are more in love with celebrity than the craft of acting. Well, that's unfair to say. There's a proliferation of that, and perhaps there always was. So what happens is there's not really an organic way where people ask you questions. But when they do, yeah, like if I have something that anybody's interested in hearing, I love to share what little information I have. Like I don't have like the best information in the world, but I can share a lot of the mistakes I made or pitfalls I didn't sidestep. And you know, I think that there are, you know, a couple young people when I've been on set have been, well, what was this like and what would you do in this situation? I always feel honored and I'm very thoughtful about my answers.
Good. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. Now, Nancy, you were nervous, but it went fine. now, what's your Twitter?
_ Amanda Wiss.
And now do you tweet a lot?
I'm starting to. I more just respond to tweets because I have more fun responding to the people that tweet me.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on, and people follow her. Also follow me on Twitter. I'm at Cooper Talk. That's at Cooper Talk. I tweet a lot. I like it. Just gives me relief. Also follow me on Instagram at Cooper Talk 1. I post some good pictures. I post some healthy food pictures. If you go to my website, it's coopertalk.net. I have over 490 episodes, where you can also email me, Cooper@coopertalk.net. And if you want to get a guest, suggest who you want to see. If you want to advertise on my show, I'm played on a bunch of stations. I have great rates, so we'll figure that out. And iTunes, Stitcher, the same thing. One word, Cooper Talk. And if you have a Google Android phone or tablet, go to the Google Play Store, type in one word, Cooper Talk. And then don't forget my other website, stopthesalt.com. Remember when I went through that health problem? Well, I wrote a cookbook. It's 120 easy recipes. They're all low sodium, healthy to make, easy to make. There's no pictures to intimidate you. There's no list of long ingredients. So if you don't have cumin, don't worry. I have no cumin. But they're easy to make. And you can go to Amazon or Barnes & Nobles and buy it, or you can go to stopthesalt.com. And if you do that, I'll sign it for you. Not if you don't care, but I make more money. So you'd rather do that. So that's what I think. So don't forget, follow Amanda. Go to IMDb. Check out her old shows, because that's what you got to do. And keep following me. I'm Steve Cooper. Remember, I'm only as hip as my guests. Don't forget, drink your water, eat your vegetables, take your vitamins. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.